Abigail, for your interesting talk about Bertha Pappenheim, which kind of gave us just a glimpse how important language and religious education and learning was and still is, I guess. And I'm sure you have several questions already in mind, but keep them in mind because we have a second speaker coming up, whom I warmly welcome to the stage, Katherina Bawidamann from the Ludwig Maximilians University of Munich. She received a BA already from the Hochschule für angewandtes Management in Munich, and she also received a BA from the LMU in Munich. And in her research, she focused on the Jüdische Frauenbund and the influences of Bertha Pappenheim on the one side and Sidonie Werner. And I guess her talk is based on her research project in the BA, which we're just putting up right now, about the Jüdische Frauenbund between feminism and Jewish bourgeois structures, a perspective on the influences of the founders, Bertha Pappenheim and Sidonie Werner, on the GBA and its agenda. Katherina, please come to the stage. We're looking forward to your talk. Yes, I will. Yes, you can. Yes, okay. So this is yours, right?
Yes.
So, you just put it somewhere here?
Yes.
Like.
Oh my God. I'm already starting everything. Jetzt den Präsentationsmodus zu machen. Ich glaube, jetzt ist es. Sonst passt das.
Was du das wird? Aber wo kann man den Präsentationsmodus machen? Aber wie, dass man das sieht? Aber sieht, dass man sozusagen die nächsten Fotos sieht?
Genau, also quasi, dass ich dann auf die Notizen. Das weiß ich nicht. Eigentlich geht das immer automatisch.
Das glaube ich hängt so an die Version.
So. Ja, gut, dann mach ich's.
Geht das, oder?
Wir sehen ja alle deinen Kommentar. Ja, genau. Sonst mach ich's freestyle. It's okay.
So kind of just put it.
Yeah.
Do you want?
Thank you.
So sorry for the delay.
Yeah.
There's also some technical problems. But yeah.
So I cannot see my notes, so it will be all freestyle. But I don't know how long you guys have been to Frankfurt already. I've been to Frankfurt since Wednesday, so I had plenty of time to explore the city. And what I explored was wherever I went, West End, East End, Main Station, there was always a link to Bertha Pappenheim. I mean, even here, it's the Bertha Pappenheim Platz. And not only to Bertha Pappenheim, but also always to the JFB. And also for me personally, since I studied history, I started 3.5 years ago, I always had a link to her and the JFB because my first seminar was also about her and the balance between her Orthodox faith and the modern feminism she went through. And I know it's almost lunchtime and you're probably hungry, but I try to be as fast and efficient with my perspective on the influence of the founders, Bertha Pappenheim and Sidonie Werner, on the JFB and its agenda. So what I want to talk about is, first of all, my project and the research question which raised over time while dealing with Bertha Pappenheim for so long. Then I will go over to a short bio and the political agenda of the both founders, Bertha Pappenheim and Sidonie Werner. I didn't include Henriette May on this because I didn't also use it for my bachelor thesis, even though she's also an important figure for the JFB. Then I'll analyze the work of Bertha Pappenheim and Sidonie Werner through some texts and letters and speeches they gave. And in the end, I will draw a conclusion. So my research question was, to what extent did the social background, interpretation of faith, and attitude to certain political and social issues of the JFB founders, Sidonie, Werner, and Bertha Pappenheim, influence the agenda and work of the JFB? So it's my BA thesis, and I have a limit of 100,000 signs, so it's not, I could write, I don't know, 500 pages already. I feel like, no, no. But so I was kind of limited. And my bachelor thesis supervisor is Dr. Julia Schneiderwind, who can't be here today because she has another conference in Tallinn. But she is also currently working on JFB women besides Bertha Pappenheim and also besides Sidonie Werner. And as I already said, I previously worked on Bertha Pappenheim and her life and her religious upbringing in another seminar about Jews in the Weimar Republic. And what I did to find out what I wrote was I analyzed letters and published text articles from the Blätter des Jüdischen Frauenbunds, from the founders. But I have to say, while researching, I decided to not include Sidonie Werner into my thesis because the research is not as based as it is on Bertha Pappenheim. So mainly also the research itself focuses on Bertha Pappenheim. So I think that's why I think it's also really important that Dr. Schneiderwind brings up the idea of focusing on all the women who formed and influenced the JFB. I used the archival materials from the LBI, which are thankfully online. And for that, I mainly used the estate of Ottilie Schönewald, the last chairwoman before the liquidation in 1939. And it's over 1,000 pages, and it includes letters, newspapers, and everything I already said. And of course, I used secondary literature. And as Rebecca Dens in her 2021 book already said, I, of course, used Marion Kaplan's book from 1981 because it was one of the, it is still, I mean, it's 43 years later now, but still a fundamental book for researching on Bertha Pappenheim and also on the JFB. And also, I read some texts from people who are here. So it's really, for me, amazing to see you in real life and see the people behind those texts. It's really honoring for me. And to go on now with the bio and the political agenda, I start with Bertha Pappenheim. As we already heard, she was born in Vienna. Her father was from Pressburg, which is nowadays Bratislava. And her mother was originally already from Frankfurt, from the Goldschmidt family, which was a really influential family during that time. And she grew up really Orthodox and into a bourgeoisie rich family. And they had strict gender roles. She had a younger brother. She compared herself a lot during her upbringing. And that's also really an important, crucial point for her work later on. She was also in charge of caring for the father when he got sick, and she cared so much about him and his health that after his death, she got sick, and after she got cured from Josef Breuer, she and her mother moved back to Frankfurt. And that was actually the turning point in her life, because when she moved to Frankfurt, her cousins like Anna Edinger and Luise Goldschmidt, who were already involved in the women's movement and also in the social care movement, they brought her to that and gave her a new perspective. And so that's why she already also started to work in that field. And in 1895, she became a member of the Allgemeine Deutsche Frauenbewegung in Frankfurt, so the general German women's movement. And also in the same year, she got her first position in social care as a leader of an orphanage home for Jewish girls. And given through that perspectives, she also founded the Mädchen Club, a girls' club for young girls who came through work to the city and were still too young to have like a foundation like for the family and for their cares and whatever. So she wanted to give them the possibility to have a Jewish family besides their own Jewish family. And then we all know what happened in 1904. She, together with Henriette May and Sidonie Werner, founded the JFB during a international conference for women in Berlin. And 3 years later, she founded, well, probably besides the JFB, her most important work, the home in Neu-Isenburg. We will see later. And this was really also a point for the JFB, or also a reason why probably the JFB also exists with, which I will also talk about during her political agenda, because with that she fulfilled most of her political agenda. In 1924, she ends her chairwomanship, but in the phase between end of 1932 to 1934, she was the interim chairwoman between Bettina Brenner and Ottilie Schönewald. Because of the uprising of the Nazis, there was no possibility to vote for another chairwoman. So first and most forward, what she also came in contact with almost like as the first thing was fighting against white slavery, because in the end of the 19th century in Frankfurt, many Jewish people from Eastern Europe came to Frankfurt, and she saw the misery of these young girls who often became victims of white slavery. And that's why she also founded Neu-Isenburg. And she traveled a lot. She also, I mean, it was like the beginning of the 20th century. She went to Jerusalem, she went to the US, she went to Russia to talk with people there in charge and to see what you can do at the roots of the problem. And she went also to a lot of conferences. She, as well, her own limited possibilities, she wanted to have a better education for girls, but mainly in the social care field. This comes to another point. So social care for Jewish women and children was also one crucial point, and that she fulfilled with Neu-Isenburg as well. You could do an apprenticeship there, but also live there as a victim of white slavery and their children. And also, this is also a point because of her upbringing, as I said before. She really fought from the beginning for equal rights within the Jewish community between men and women. Sidonie Werner, always second in charge, I would say, is almost the same age, and she has a similar upbringing as Bertha Pappenheim. She was also born into an Orthodox Bourgeois family in nowadays Poznan, Posen, and her family moved to Hamburg. And she had the possibility to become a teacher, and she worked as a teacher her whole life, even though she was chairwoman for many facilities. But she also did courses to become eventually a headmaster, but since the limited possibilities, she could never fulfill this position. And she, even before Bertha Pappenheim founded something, she founded together with a man, Gustav Tucher, the Israelite Help Foundation for Jewish Women. It was the first association in Hamburg, and I think in general, for only women as help seekers. And she was also involved in a lot of societies in Hamburg, many Jewish societies. She was also a member of the Zentralverein. She had also a political agenda, but like political in the sense of being a member of a party, but she was never able to fulfill that. And she was also 20 years the deputy chairwoman of the JFB. She went to a lot of travels with Bertha Pappenheim, but she had also like a strong focus on Jewish teachers, which will come in a second. And for the Israelite Help Foundation for Women. She was also a chairwoman, but only after it was allowed for women after 1908 to become part of political associations. And as I said, she established several facilities for Jewish women and children, for example, also Week, and as we can see on her political agenda, for Jewish girls in apprenticeships and as teacher homes, also teacher residence for Jewish female teachers, because Jewish female teachers were like the least on the chain, you have to say, unfortunately. So often they didn't get jobs. They had to work as private teachers because the stigmatization was just really, really bad at the time, and the anti-Semitism against Jewish female teachers was worse than for men. So that's why she wanted to have better options for Jewish teachers, better conditions for social care training. She gave a home for Jewish girls during their training as well. She was also a fighter against white slavery together with Bertha Pappenheim. And she was also part of the women's suffragette early on. Even before Bertha Pappenheim, she wanted to have the right to vote, not only in the Jewish community, but also for women in parliaments. So what I did was I analyzed the speeches and the texts they wrote. Bertha Pappenheim, we already heard it. We just have the letters and speeches others saved. I think Dora Idinger also started like a search for lost scripts of Bertha Pappenheim in the 60s to remember her and her work, which was really important. Dora Idinger, by the way, was also like related to Bertha Pappenheim. And it's not chronologically, so we start in 1934. 1934, the Nazis were already in charge, in power. And Bertha Pappenheim, in the beginning, she saw the problem of the Nazis. I mean, also in the JFB, they saw the problems the Nazis could bring. But she, in the beginning, she was against people emigrating because she was always for a strong German Jewish community. She really wanted to support the German Jewishness, and that's why at a meeting in 1934, she said, "The German Jews as a whole have such a sense of responsibility and solidarity that it is possible to provide the children in Germany with a simple, healthy Jewish upbringing." And with that, she influenced the JFB in first not supporting emigration, especially of Jewish children who still went to school, because they had the feeling, okay, we could lose them and their German Jewishness. But only some months later, she also changed her view on that and went with some Jewish orphans to Amsterdam, to the UK, to other places to bring them there into other Jewish orphanage homes. The second point is about white slavery, and I used this quote because it summarizes the problems and also the things we have to do against white slavery. The girls are reckless, poor, often unable to pursue any profession, not encouraged at home to associate with a certain circle. They only have the desire to get away. Without brothels, no prostitutes. Without brothels, no trafficking of girls. Without combating prostitution, there's no combating on the trafficking of girls. And already in the beginning of the JFB in their constitution, they declared that they want to fight against white slavery. So it was also until 1939 one of the most important works on the JFB, and they also worked on an international level. Bertha Pappenheim also founded 1914, as we already heard yesterday, also an international Jewish Women's Association to fight against anti-Semitism and most forward against white slavery together. And she organized a lot of conferences through the JFB, and as I already mentioned several times, Neu-Isenburg, which was fully in hand of the JFB, like money-wise, and also with the workers. The last quote from Bertha Pappenheim was about equality between men and women in Jewish communities. As I already said, she was always jealous of her younger brother, who was able to be a member of this Jewish community early on, and she was just left out. And she tried to find also proofs everywhere in the Talmud, and she talked to rabbis all over well, not the world, but all over Europe to find proof that women are equal. And in speech, it's a letter from 1934 as well. She wrote, "If the Jewish woman had, according to her strength and ability, found her place and recognition in the Jewish community in time, we would not today regret having to do without some individuals." So, yeah, she was really, I mean, when I read the letter, I could really see how angry that made her and how, like, sensitive she was on that topic, and she really fought for that on a selfish, not selfish, but really from her heart. And that was also a cornerstone of the constitution from the JFB, was already there also since the beginning, and also until 1939, until the liquidation. They fought for the equality within the Jewish community. It was not always successful, but because I think they did, they asked several Jewish communities in 1927 how many communities already had the right to vote for women. And from those 52 letters, only 38 came back, and just 19 had like the active right to vote, and another 15 had like the active and passive right to vote. So it was something, and without the JFB, probably nothing would have changed. So we could say it was a success, but it was a bitter success. So now we come to Sidonie Werner. I have two quotes for her. One where she, like I already said, she was against white slavery as well, and also for the improvement of Jewish women teacher situation. And she said, for the perspective on the education, the best story of the Jewish woman for the poor girls in Galicia is and remains her education for work. So she said, okay, how can we fight against white slavery? Education. And on her other cornerstone, it's an urgent and timely need to establish a residence home for Jewish teachers and educators in Germany as well. So I think that was a speech, and she was really fighting, also fighting within the JFB to get money and to get foundings for Jewish female teachers. So as we can see, she reached that in Cologne, Berlin, Breslau, and I think also Hamburg, that female Jewish teachers have a home there for their education, but also later on for female Jewish teachers, and also female Jewish teachers' retirement homes, because most of they weren't married, so they didn't have children or other people to take care of them. She also managed to reach supporting for the apprenticeship for teachers and women in social care. And the JFB, as we already saw at Bertha Pappenheim, supported the fights against white slavery. So I think this picture is really cute because both of them, they're like this. So yeah, so what can we say in the end of my presentation? Especially Bertha Pappenheim gave a clear direction towards the action of the JFB. I mean, they have similar agendas, so of course it's kind of the same, but Bertha Pappenheim really brought it through social care, extent of education, and white slavery. Both Werner and Pappenheim managed to make their own interests, which they were already pursuing before the JFB, as we saw in their biography. Above its work, Pappenheim was more present and able to influence the JFB. And we have to say, both of them represented a whole generation of bourgeois Jewish women. Especially when you see the statistics that 1/5 of all Jewish women at that time were members of the JFB. They triggered things on the Jewish womanhood, what all other Jewish women felt like, okay, we have now the chance to change that together. And as we already saw, and as we see it during this Congress, their aims survived their active membership, and I think that's a success for their aims and actions. So thank you for your attention, and I'm happy about questions and feedback.